Hi there, it's me, Kate Turk, German internationally, and I'm linguist, founder from Lingua and Lingua Plus, and actress. And today we're going to talk about neuroscience of performance in language learning. After conducting that crazy intensive training in theater, filmmaking, screenwriting, just practicing, I've been looking at how connect theater and language learning and like apply it, yeah, like today, now. So let's see first at how our brain works, right? So if we think about neurons, like how neurons fire together and wire together, what we may discover that when we speak a new language, we build new neural networks, right? Neural circuits. But repetition alone is not enough. What we need to do, we need to look at the performance because performance activates the whole brain, right? So it's different parts responsible for memory, emotion, attention, so much more, right? So what we can try out, so-called performance-based learning. This is cool. I'm used to, project-based learning, but then performance-based learning. And now it makes sense to me because back in time, years ago, I was doing performance-based learning. I just didn't know that it was called this way. So what it means, it's not just about learning the text, yeah, learning a few phrases. It's about embodying this experience. How? How we're going to do that? If we combine with you movement, gestures, body, emotions like raising emotional stakes, emotional scene, and then social presence, we're going to activate in our brain different parts. For instance, motor cortex. Motor cortex is responsible for physical speech and gestures, right? Then with emotions, we activate the limbic system. So important when they talk about anxiety and all fear. So limbic system. And then when we think about like focus, attention, decision making, it's prefrontal cortex. So all the three parts get activated in the same moment. This helps us to remember better and not just like to remember, memorize, but also then to repeat it under other circumstances. So important. So, for instance, if you say, I'm sorry, like you are learning a phrase in another language, let's say like in Spanish, lo siento, I'm sorry. If you just say it, just like, oh, this is a phrase I need to remember, a word. I typically just say like memorize phrases, right? No words, but like phrase. You remember this phrase. If you just say it with no emotion, with nothing, just like, I'm sorry, okay, I'll remember, like, lo siento, yeah, nothing. But if you say this phrase, perhaps feeling regret, just like getting this emotion out, maybe you're going to look at somebody, like you look into the eyes of somebody, and you will say, I'm sorry, or lo siento, like in this new language, your target language, learning this new phrase, what will happen? Your body will remember. Why? Because if we look at our mirror neurons were discovered in chimpanzees, and then, yeah, the theory about how we look at others who are doing something and we learn how to do it, just like mirroring them, right? So, what's interesting that mirror neurons fire when we observe, when we imagine somebody doing something, even when we imagine, right? Because our brain doesn't distinguish between real and imagined. Very interesting. So when it we talked about acting, if we are watching a movie with a passionate scene where actors are pretending, what happens? It triggers in us a real emotional and neural response. That's what's very interesting here because that's why performance works. It means that you can actually try out to imagine, to think about particular emotion in the moment when you're memorizing certain vocabulary that can be connected to emotions, right? And with performance, or like performance-based learning, you can also build procedural memory. There are two types of memory as well. There's like declarative memory. It's all about vocabulary lists and grammar rules. And there's procedural memory that is responsible for application of all this knowledge. So it's this is how you know how to use all these vocabulary rules and their like grammar instructions. So what it means that when you speak a new language, you're not doing it from like vocabulary lists, right? From memorization, but you're doing it from embodiment. And that's so important. We've talked about it in other videos, how some people just memorize lists of words and whether it works or not. And apparently it doesn't because your brain can't retrieve like just a particular retrieve like a particular word from that list. It's very difficult. You must have context. And if you manage to put together your body, emotions, social context, like a person with whom you're talking to, all together, then you will become much more fluent, much faster, right? So when you do what's called like simulated performance, meaning that you're imagining you're sad, you're full of joy and all, you build this procedural fluency faster. So what you can do first, you can use particular scene, a text, an exchange here, maybe with your peer, with your friend, teacher, where you will incorporate grammar and emotion. Grammar is good, like such exercise where you say, okay, we've covered this topic now, let's talk and let's try to use this grammar construction. Good, but now also try to incorporate emotion. See what happens. Then, of course, it's about a repetition, like repetitive drills. I'm not saying about recitation, I'm saying about practicing reaction. How? Maybe you can go and learn passages from books or maybe poetry. Like I've done it a lot with poetry, just like, literature classes, we would learn your poetry in different languages. But you need to learn how to do it with emotional reaction. You need to feel what you're reciting. Or maybe you can recite as well with somebody, maybe with your friend, maybe with your tutor, maybe with your group mate. Play with that. See again what kind of emotions here this particular piece evokes in you. And then, of course, improv games. I've talked about improv games. I'll say it again. Improv games help you to stimulate spontaneous speech. You can do improv on your own, improv writing, improv speech. You can do improv in a pair. You can be, in a group and just play around. And then, of course, like role models, what you can do, you can simulate maybe, you're ordering food at a cafe, and then you're adding up emotion. You're acting like you're in a rush, or maybe you're heartbroken. Yeah, maybe you're flirting, yeah, like with the waitress. And you will notice how your intonation, your gestures, and word choice will slightly change. I understand that first, maybe you will be bringing up all this intonation, gestures, words from your native or most comfortable language to your target language. It's okay, it's only the beginning, because then we have with you rhythm and prosody. And all the languages are like melodies here, they're musical. And here, what you need to do till you start performing, playing around, you need to tune in your ears and you need to listen to intonation, like intonation patterns, and then speech stress and cultural emotional rhythm. I've talked about it quite a lot, but I want to emphasize here it's not just about your ear, it's about the entire body. So, what you need to do, you can watch a movie, TV series, and film, like record particular scene in the target language. And then you can watch and try to repeat. Yeah. So you analyze it. They're like, okay, so I can see maybe their intonation goes much higher or much lower than I would expect in my native language. All right, so what about gestures? And then rhythm, feeling rhythm. And from there, what you can also do, you can learn the emotional code, yeah, in that performance in another language. So for instance, if you're going to watch movies, TV series, or if you go into the country of the target language, you may notice not only like what they say, but how they say it, natives, and how they feel it. That's what's important. That's how we're going deep. So in Italian, maybe you will notice that there is this high energy, like a lot of energy, vocal modulation, yeah, gesticulation. But in Japanese, you will notice subtle gestures, formality, avoidance of eye contact. Yeah, in Arabic, you may notice, yeah, intensity, rhythm, a bit of poetic forms, yeah, of address. You may notice different things, but you absorb them and then you perform them. And this performance helps you, yeah, embody these codes, because then little by little you start integrating them and you will know, okay, this is what's happening to me when I'm saying it this and that way. This is about as well like language alter ego building. You can see I'm giving you, certain clues, but I think it's like first it's about your practice. Think about it as you're performing. So again, you need to practice dialects with emotional intent, not just repeating, feeling them, feeling, acting them. Then you need to use gestures and postures. Try to copy what you see from TV, like from TV series, from movies, because what may happen that your brain forgets, but your body will remember. So important. Then, of course, it's about, yeah, acting out short passages from books, from movies, as well poetry. You can also choose passages with like emotional arcs where there's intensity or passion, something you know that will also get stuck in your brain. Then I've talked about that in another video. It's about repeating your text, your phrases with varied emotions, right? This is like how you learn to connect emotions to certain phrases. Yeah, like try it out with anger or with joy or with shame and see how it changes. And then please don't feel ashamed. Please record yourself, record your audios, record your videos, because then we need to go deeper and work on your facial expressions, on your poses, on your tone, and actually observe, see how it evolves. So if you do it all together, you put together physical, emotional, and relational, and it's not just mental anymore. Suddenly, you rewire your brain, you rewire the way how you express yourself in a foreign language, the way how you build your emotional memory, how you build your vocabulary. And then, yeah, you transform your brain and you transform the way you speak another language. Well, I hope it's been useful for you. If you like this video, hit like, subscribe, and I'll see you in new videos. Bye.